So students, proceeding on to the next slide where I am going to discuss with you all about the structure of the maize grain. Here, if I talk about the structure of the maize grain, first I would like to show you this oval part. This oval part is basically contains the embryo. Okay, this oval part basically contains the embryo, and because it is present there, the area, this part slightly appears to be the swollen. The remaining major part of the grain contains a large endosperm. That means this part, this major large area is the endosperm. It is already mentioned over there. It is the endosperm, which is rich in starch. It stores the starch. Okay. So basically, plants, they store their food in form of starch. If you recall the photosynthesis, you could recall it properly that what is the product of photosynthesis? That means the food which is prepared by the plant is basically the starch. Okay? And this starch, since it is the food for the plant, a growing plant or a baby plant or the embryo uses it for their metabolic activities, for their growth and development. Okay, so the next thing that I would like to show you over here is, apart from this endospermic or the starch rich part, the layer is there, a thin layer or a thin separator lining is present over there, which is separating out the endospermic part and the embryonic part. Okay, so if this is the embryonic part, children, if this is the embryonic part and this is the endospermic part, so this thin layer, okay, this thin layer, which is known as the epithelial layer, is separating out, or is the separator of this embryonic part and of the endospermic part. Apart from this, one more important part is this outer, at the periphery, that you can see a layer is present, which is known as the aleuron layer. So what is this aleuron layer? Actually, this aleuron layer is rich in protein and acts as a shield in protecting the endospermic part. Okay, so protein makes this layer quite tough and protective. And why is it necessary to protect the endospermic layer? It is because that it is the reserve food. The endospermic part is the reserve food, and it needs to be protected because this food is utilized by this developing embryo. So aleuron layer, which is a protein rich layer, protects the part. Okay, so therefore now we can say that the embryo consists of single cotyledon called scutellum. This single cotyledon part is basically the scutellum. I'm just writing S. I wrote S over there for this part, scutellum. Okay, and the next is that about the coleoptile and coleorhiza. You may see, children, coleorhiza is the tip or the crown that protects the radicle. Radicle means it is the future root, and plumule means the future shoot, which is again protected by the crown like structure known as coleoptile. Okay, so therefore the radicle is protected by the root cap followed by the coleorhiza, and then the plumule is protected by the shielding leaf followed by the coleoptile. So we can therefore say that the embryo comprises scutellum, one of the important part, coleorhiza, another one, and coleoptile. So these three parts are very important. Going on to the previous again, because I told you that I would be explaining about the comparative of the maize grain and the bean seed. Here you can see, children, that it's a single seeded structure, whereas in case of bean seed it is the double seeded structure. Okay, so here you may see that the seed is broken into two equal halves. So it is dicotyledon, okay, and it is the double seeded structure. Apart from this, all these parts are already explained. Now, next is the important point that you are going to remember out. The whole full form of these points or the sentences are already there in the book, so I have not mentioned here in the PPT. You will write it from the book. You will write about the aleurone layer, which is the outermost layer of the endosperm, rich in protein, coleorhiza. Coleorhiza is basically the protective layer. It is the protective layer that protects the radicle, and coleoptile protects the, again it is the protective layer, it protects the plumule. Okay, so scutellum, it is the single cotyledon present there. Okay, so it is the protective layer. Don't forget, children, coleorhiza and coleoptile, they protect the radicle and plumule respectively. So that's all for today. Your homework will be to draw figure number 6.2, and you have to write the definition of grain, aleurone layer, scutellum, coleorhiza and coleoptile. Thank you.